Hi, everyone. Good evening. We are here live tonight with Mackenzie Flohr, and we are super excited to have her here tonight. And the energy that's going to be broadcasted out is going to be amazing. This is a time for fun. This is a time to just let your mind go. So, I'm April Tribe Juke, and I am broadcasting from Kyle, Texas. And Mackenzie, where are you broadcasting from?
I'm actually broadcasting from Mount Morris, Michigan, which some people don't know where that is. So Flint.
Awesome. Amazing. So there you are. So we're like going north and we're going to cast this all across the states and globally because Mackenzie has a huge like fan base clear over in the UK. And so this is going to be awesome. They're probably sleeping right now, but we might have a few pop up there. So we'll see what happens. And they can always watch it through the replay, which is amazing. Now, because of where we are tonight, I would really like for Mackenzie to share a little bit about herself.
Well, my name is Mackenzie Flohr. I am an award-winning author of the Right One series, which is what we'll be talking about tonight. And I'm also going to be talking about my upcoming coaching program, which also goes kind of, you could say, coordinates with the series, which is also based off of Carrie Oberbrunner's Deeper Path. I'm really excited to show how that is all going to go about there. Right now, I have the Right One series, which is 2 books currently. It will be 7 in its completion, which we're expecting to have a book out a year, though the next one, due to some publisher changes, we will be going out in probably another year before the 3rd book comes out, which will be called The Bride of Sin Gray.
Wow. In all of these things that you've created, this fantasy world came about how? Like, how did all of this even start?
Very bizarre, actually. And this will be for some of those people who, if you write fan fiction, this is going to give you a lot of encouragement. I actually started in fanfiction, fanfiction.net back in, oh gosh, I would say 2000 is when I was back on ff.net. I wrote Lord of the Rings fan fiction. I was really into Tolkien. And bizarrely, I went to a museum where this was, I want to say 2002 approximately. It was right after the films had already come out. And there was a tour going on in Indiana at the museum where you could see the costumes that were used in the series. And while I was traveling on the road, I passed by a sign and it was like lightning. I suddenly had Vandalite, Inverna. It was the whole story, except for one problem. I didn't have my protagonist. And that became a huge issue. I did not find my protagonist until 2014. So yes, it can take years for you to write a book just because you put it down because you feel like, oh, I've got a dead book. I can't write. I'm not good enough. I don't write like this person, so therefore I'll never get published. Don't let any of that thing stop you, because if you did or you do allow that, you could have a situation where you could have an award-winning series that just never gets published because you're afraid. Don't allow that to stop you. Do it.
I agree. Never allow the fear to control your path. You are the one in charge. You are the one in control. And so, with that idea of you being in control, even though the protagonist took a long time to find, now that you have found what's happening, share with us in this book series. And this first book, right, is going to be for votes for Author Academy Awards. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay,
that is
so
correct.
the very first book. So share with us a little bit about the opening, kind of tempt us into this to see like, ooh, I really want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, that
So
book.
that's the book there. It's called The Right of Wands. It's about a 12-year-old boy by the name of Mirta McKinnon, who is a warlock, though he has not gained his powers. So what he does is he decides that he's going to take on a ceremony called the Right of Wands, which is a little bit like Christmas carols. You're going to see a glimpse of his past, his present, and his future. In his future, he sees a doomsday prophecy, which includes a plague that is going to swipe the world out, including his family and himself, unless he changes that future. So that's what it is. He's determined that he's going to change it so that it never happens. People aren't going to die. His family's going to die. Most importantly, he's not going to die. He's going to make sure that never happens.
Never happens. So this includes this big adventure of, I'm sure, characters that pop up and the whole journey of how he is going to either stop the plague from happening, or at least for himself and his family, they're not going to get sick, I guess, right? I don't want to give anything away. So it's going to be really, really fun. So in creating and developing characters, how do the ideas pop up for you?
I see everything like they're on a green screen. So it's almost like I would describe it similar to writing a screenplay. For me, I'm not really one of those people that there's different types of people. There's the outliners who are strictly, they write out the outline and that's pretty much, they stick to it. Then there's the pantsers, which they literally write by the seat of their pants. And then there's the in-between person, which is me, which I outline, and then I also allow my characters to kind of write the story. And that's what Mirta does, who is the protagonist. He literally writes the story. So for me, I might have a situation where, for example, in the first book, he goes to find a book. Well, he found that book, but he can't read it because it's all gibberish. At least that's what he thinks, it's gibberish. Turns out it's not, but he doesn't know that. So that's one of the things that kind of happens, is like I kind of go by the flow.
Exactly. In that flow, you see more character, I would say personality start to pop up. I have a question for you that I'm dying to ask. So do you ever sit your character down and interview them?
Yeah, I had to do that with Mirta. And in fact, he wouldn't talk to me. He didn't talk to me for 3 years. I came across him in 2014, but he didn't talk to me until 2017 to finally say, my name is Mirta, and that is not how it happened. Ironically, he was wearing, in those who are Doctor Who fans or The Crown, he was wearing the mask or face of actor Matt Smith, as well as using his personality, as well as his voice. So I literally wrote the character for him.
Wow, that's impactful. I love the geek out on this tonight. This is fantastic. This is wonderful. I mean, anyone else who really likes the fantasy, the concept of you can just create a world and have some fun with it. Now, Mackenzie, I know that within your life, not everything has been just this fantasy, amazing world, right? There's been some tough times. So why do you write fantasy? Why? Why don't you write other things? I mean, what draws you to this?
I would say for fantasy, for me, my mom really encouraged me to be a creative person. So I think a lot of it came from her, but she really encouraged me to get creative. She involved me in theater, but as April has said, things were not always that great. In fact, I really went through a very long period of time where I really didn't know who I was or why I was here. I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't even think I was going to be a writer. I just thought, well, maybe it was just like, hobby, nothing, anything that I would actually take seriously. And then realizing over time that, yeah, that is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm supposed to help other people through my story so that they can go through whatever their trial or tribulation is and be able to know there is a way through. There is a light at the end of that tunnel, whatever you're dealing with.
Oh, wow. When you have that light kind of there and you're thinking, I can get people to really enjoy and see through a character that I think maybe what I feel is really interesting with any kind of character that's in a book, I like to put, I guess you could say, the blame or whatever. You can really manipulate that character to anything. Like if you have, a protagonist that you don't really like, but seems to accidentally match a few people that you have challenges with, sometimes that can become the person, right? But you can work through that problem that you're having and possibly adding some journaling into it as a reader who's reading this character and thinking, Mackenzie is brilliant because this is the person who I need to work through and deal with. And fantasy stories, they're safe. They're safe places to do that with and to think and to work through traumatizing events even. And then when you find the hero, when you find that person that even though they might not know everything, they're not absolute power, yet they have some kind of power that keeps you going and willing them to make it, to conquer the quest, to get the ring, to get the wands, to do whatever it is that is needed, because you have to hope for something, right?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
believe that any good story has some type of hope within it. So,
Mhm.
Mackenzie, does this book have some hope?
Yes, there is a lot. I will warn readers, it does have a lot of darkness in it, but there is hope. You will find with Mirta, he is going to be one of these characters who has, you could say, the extreme struggle. He is a character of loss. He's arrogant, though he doesn't really do it to be mean. He's more doing it to hide the feelings that he is and protecting his family, though he doesn't always show it. But yes, there is hope at the end. There is a light. And you're going to see a lot of personal growth. A lot of these stories, the best stories out there, honestly, has a main character who has some extreme scenario and gets through it. And in this case, Mirta is going to help, I would hope, my readers be able to get through COVID-19 because of these similarities.
Wow. What are the similarities that you're talking about? I mean, you're talking about a fantasy book, and you're now talking about the reality of COVID-19. What do you mean by this?
Yeah, well, you could kind of, some people have told me that they think it was a little bit of foretelling. I'm like, well, maybe it was just a coincidence. I don't know. So in 2017, when I published the first book, my character, he is a medieval doctor. And his struggle, what he sees, he decides he's going to change that future. And it turns out that this plague is called a Shreya, which I actually based it, which I didn't even realize I was doing at the time. I based it somewhat off of the Black Plague, which, going through research and stuff, the similarities, because COVID-19 keeps changing and evolving, the Shreya and COVID-19 almost have the identical symptoms now. So it's kind of eerily. I actually had a literary agent read my book recently and said, Mackenzie, you got to make this a movie. This is going to help people get through this dark time that we're dealing with right now, because we can see a character gets through that. There is hope at the end. We're not going to live in this world forever. There is something out there.
Wow. It's incredible to think of 2017, this was published. So you've got like 3 years ahead of what's currently happening now, yet it's so applicable for today. And we're talking fantasy.
Yeah.
Like everything that people get inspired to do is for a reason. And in that reason, the excitement can really just come about. So always think those positive things, finish through. One thing I know is that if you quit, you're absolutely 100% right. It'll never happen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Did you ever feel those times of quitting yourself?
Oh, absolutely. That happened actually with the Right of Wands. I thought I had a dead book. I had this great idea, I had this great world, but it was, again, because of my protagonist. I had no idea really where the story was going, which, if you have a story that doesn't know where it's going, you probably do have a dead book. And that is literally, I was in my desk or in my office. It was September, I want to say it was like September 20th. It was at night. It was raining. I was really depressed. I shouted at the computer, "Who are you?" And that is when Mirta finally spoke to me. And that's how the whole story was like, the whole entire rest of the story came out like it was magic.
It was magic. Speaking of magic, you are holding something that you're flourishing around there. What are you doing?
Yes, this is something I actually had created or crafted. It was Magical Alley, who is out in Washington. They actually do the wands for Harry Potter on the movie set as well. I photoshopped something that I wanted as a design for Mirta, which is the same wand that's on the cover, in fact. And I asked them if they could actually literally craft it for me. And they're like, yeah, we can get it to you. So that's what this is. This is literally Mirta's wand. And it has the bloodstone crystal at the very top of the wand, which is what his wand is known for. And then the fun fact of my main character that I wrote for Matt Smith, which probably is really difficult to see in the camera, so I'm going to bring this up. So there, that is Matt Smith's signature as well. So he knows about it too.
Wow, is that his actual signature?
Yeah, that's his actual signature. Yeah. Yeah.
How exciting. I love it. It looks like Sandra's joined us tonight and she says, I love your enthusiasm, Mackenzie. And I agree. Your smile, the brightness, the excitement about sharing a story that can just kind of leave the troubles that are happening and see through a character. How could we maybe take on some of this and get through it? That is something that is so much fun to do, especially with fantasy. It's just fantastic. So show us that book again. And before we started the program, she showed an incredible medal. And would you like to explain something about this? This is fantastic. Check this out, everybody.
Yeah. So this is from the Literary Classic Awards. And it has actually engraved on the back, it has my name and it says fantasy and then the Right of Wands. I won there's been 2018. I had to remember what year it was I won this. This was in 2018, and it was really cool because their award system is very similar to the Author Academy Awards. They had a banquet. They had a ceremony where you got to go up on stage and get the medal. And you got to actually sell your book, do like a little bit of a book tour where you got to see various places in the community. This is all in South Dakota. So once we get done with COVID-19, if you've never been to South Dakota, Rapid City, trust me, go there on vacation. You'll love it.
I agree. We just actually in June, we did a book tour and I went and visited different shelters and one of them was in Rapid City and we were so impressed. It was just a fantastic little place. And we felt just this warm welcome, this hug, and it was so great to finally kind of take a break before anything started to flare up again. So we were really glad we got out for those 3 weeks and now we're back. But anyway, it was like leaving a different world. So I can totally appreciate the welcomeness and the fun things that you had there. That is fantastic. And congratulations on winning that award. Does anyone in your family hey, look, this is amazing. Do they get excited about it for you? Like, how is your family support?
Well, it's interesting because prior to getting the book published, I'll be frank and honest, I really did not have very much support. I really felt in the position of it didn't matter what I would do. I was not good enough. I was going to be a failure. I was going to not have money. I was going to be poor. You pretty much get where I'm going without getting us all depressed. And once I published it and started getting awards, then my family was actually started getting really encouraged about that. So they're like, wow, we have an author in the family and she's won awards and she knows this person and this person and this person. I'm like, but it's just me. I haven't changed. It's just me. Why, a book, why does that make such a difference? Why that, why am I good enough now for that, but I wasn't good enough before. It's one of those kind of weird things about it.
That is kind of interesting and weird. Sometimes an accolade is something what people are looking for and hoping for. But what I find so fun is that you had all of these stories, these ideas, this concept well before you were thinking about awards and about if I can do this, then it will prove that I am enough. And, all of those lists. You did it because of something that you love, because something you felt inside that you could. That is life-changing. That's mindset changing from something that's fixed and you can't get out of it to something that's of growth. That's something of like, let's try it. Let's see what happens. I am happy that you do have some family support now. And it is kind of interesting how, you're not so bad now that you've got awards happening. But, sometimes it gets started in different ways. We're just really happy that you decided for yourself and now for readers to have a place of escape, to have a place that is just something more they can look forward to. Because you've said there's going to be 7 books. So these are those moments where we're like, well, come on already. And I'm sure people that just can drink a book in one setting, like one an afternoon, that waiting 1 year or 2 years even is just kills them.
Oh yes, it does. It does. In fact, I've been at signings where somebody actually came up and like, "I hate you." I'm like, "What?
Sorry?
Well, you did that to the book. What I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And of course, they were joking the whole time, but
Because they get so involved with the character, they get involved with the place, and it's like anything. If the book shuts, you kind of have to wait a minute. Oh, dinner was burning. Oh, whoops! Get back to reality.
yeah. I had actually my first reader was in Australia, and I wrote the series for a young adult, so it's anybody who's 12 and up, and I wasn't 100% sure if my writing was appropriate. So this was a young girl, 11 years old, and she picked it up, literally read it within, I want to say it was like 12 hours, I think it was, and she's read it a couple times, given it to friends. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And so she's continued on with the series. I've had, actually at the last, I did a podcast where there was somebody who was a reader, said that she was a teacher, and her friend who is a teacher, they're planning on reading The Writer Wants to her class this upcoming fall, though I don't know if they'll do it virtually or however they're going to do it. But the fact that it's in a classroom, I'm like, well, that's awesome.
Yes, that is a whole new avenue to break through. And you can be giving speeches, talking about different things to school districts all the time about this positivity, about something to hope for, about how we can face our protagonists. We can face the things that are troubling us and struggling and still make it through. These are great things. I love what Sandra says. She says, your book sounds so fun. Lori has popped up here and she says, Mackenzie, you are an inspiration for many. I'm happy to know you from our Roundtable 2019. Look at that support right there. Oh, this is awesome. Some of you might be wondering, Roundtable 2019, what's all of this about? Would you like to share a little bit about that story, Mackenzie?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In this case, we went to the Igniting Souls Conference, and that is one of the perks that if you get in the Author Academy Awards, there's a conference that you can attend afterward, which is run by Carrie Oberbrunner, and it is phenomenal. I will tell you that my family said that when I went to the conference and I came back a totally different person. And it's just, that's how inspirational Carrie and his tribe are. And Lori was one of those people that happened to be there. And I am very grateful that Lori was there, as well as everybody else from our 2019 Roundtable, because some people don't know that I actually had a complete breakdown during the Igniting Soul Conference right after the Author Academy Awards. I had been nominated, but unfortunately I didn't win. And it wasn't that it was difficult for me to knowing that I lost, because I've lost other awards. So it's the fact that you get in there, that's awesome. But for some reason, there was a person that was talking, and they were talking about being accepted by your family, and it triggered me, and I had a complete breakdown. And I'm so grateful that Lori and those from the table were there, because I don't know how I'd gotten through that day. Honestly, they were able to just help me cheer up. And there were so many people there that had similar stories that you really could relate to each other and know that struggle, and knowing, yeah, you're accepted now because you've got a family. You really do. You have a family with this tribe. And that is Paws in the background, who is walking around.
I think I saw that furry little chin peek over. Yeah. See, everyone, there is time for laughter. There is time to enjoy life. There is time that you don't always have to wallow in hurt or whatever. Humor is a huge facet of healing. Dreaming is a huge facet of healing. Anything where we can kind of separate ourselves for a few hours to allow the mind to just get something different than the same type of relentlessness, it changes so much. You said a beautiful story about this table at the Igniting Souls Conference that supported you in a way that actually changed things, because the award ceremony is like one of the first things that happens, and you still have the weekend to go through this conference. Imagine if you didn't have that support to go through the next day or the next day. You might have said, well, I'm just going to stay in my hotel room. I'm going to maybe I'll pop out for a little food, but I can't do this. But people rallied around you, supported you, and your family, when you got back, were like, what? This is amazing. All this transformation that happened. So, friends, you guys are really important, an important part of all of this. I think our readership, I think anyone that is a supporter has just miles of goodness that can really help so many people. And Mackenzie, you are one of those people that give back to many, many people. And I hope that you know that. I really do.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So looks like we've got a lot of people who've making comments, showing up, being excited about this whole conversation. So let's show that book loud and proud, and let's get everybody voting for it. It is called The Right of Wands. Right there. It's kind of a purple blue, looks like dark night or something. Yeah. And look, she's got that second book ready to go too. Yeah. And tell us the name of this one.
It's called The Right of Abnegation.
Abnegation. Wow. Where do you come up with these names? I think that's the hardest part for me whenever I'm creating a story with fantasy. I'm like, George. I struggle with my names. My thoughts are fun, but my names, I'm like, I better ask some more of my kids. So how do you come up with some of the names?
So the Right of Wands, actually, that title, though it's not in the song itself, it actually came from Celtic Thunder, which is an Ireland group, or Irish group. And their composer at the time, and I would say this was, I'm going to say this was also around 2017 as well. One of their opening songs that they're most well known for has the composer actually talking in the background, and then they all come out together. It's always their opening song. And it's all about, really about like, Lord, save me. And so that song really inspired me to come up with The Right of Wands. You'll see, if you listen to the song and then you've read a little bit of the book, you'll see the correlations, because there's the drums there. You will see that there is this like happiness, even though it's sad, yet there is hope. And that's kind of the atmosphere I wanted pulling from there. So that's where that really came from, was The Right of Wands came from that. Abnegation, actually, that may have come from the Crown a little bit, because the abnegation, the thought of it is you are giving something up, which does happen in the Right of Wands series. A wizard is not born with his or her powers at the very beginning. They have to go through the Right of Wands ceremony. And some people honestly don't make it. They fail. So they become what's called a Majulia. And the Majulias, they're frowned upon. They're shunned by their community because they're not magic people. They're just ordinary people that they're not good enough to be a wizard. So they get shunned by the community. And what can also happen is, even if you gain those powers, let's say you did a huge crime, there is a court system that can take away that power, so that you become a Majulia because you did something really that's unforgivable. And that, instead of killing somebody, they instead strip your powers away, so that you essentially lose yourself. And you'll see that is a very strong theme in the series, because you'll find that Myrta's family, there's something, when I'm talking about things that have been taken away, without spoiling anything, that theme is also in the McKinnon family.
Wow. This is something that really has lots of depth and a lot of layers. This is incredible. Looks like Cindy Wilson says The Right of Wands is a great book. Can't wait to read the next one.
Yay!
We've got some families here.
Yes, I love Cindy. She actually, where I used to work, she was my boss. I can say my boss of my boss. So it was very awesome to have her support, and still have her support, as well as Bernadette's support as well. Yeah, the next book is out, and I know that she doesn't know that I'm working on a screenplay.
Wow, and the screenplay, you want to go for the big movie? You want to go for TV? You want to keep that quiet? What do you want to share with us?
I'm going for a TV series. I'm looking to stream it, and I'm kind of looking at two different areas of doing it. Either live action, which is what I'm leaning towards. However, because of what's going on with COVID-19 and the fact that my main actor, Matt Smith, is in the UK, and God only knows what's going to happen with COVID-19 over here and Hollywood, I'm also looking at animation because I know for a fact that he does not want to commit to a multi-year series, which is what this series would require. So doing animation, he would be able to be in the UK and record it and be able to do whatever he else wants to do and still be able to do it and not be tied down to one location.
That's really interesting that you are, thinking about all of these creative things all together. So I really hope that your screenplay goes well, the television series happens and goes the right way for you. Thank you, everyone, for being here and supporting. It's been a wonderful opportunity for everyone. Looks like she's super proud of you. We are too. Mackenzie, this has been a fun, fun night. Thank you for filling us up with some light, with the opportunity to really just enjoy some life and some storytelling. That is super fun. Again, hold up that book. Everyone's going to be on page 4 of the 16 pages. Page 4, we will list at the bottom everything of all of the votes. We will list her website, anything else that she'd like to share. We'll put it down there in the comments so that you can click on it, go there, vote, do anything else. And for those that have been commenting through the night and participating, you have an opportunity to win Out of Darkness. And so we're really grateful that everyone showed up here tonight. We'll draw out of the hat to find out who wins this tonight. Thank you again. The energy here has been awesome. And Mackenzie, close it out. What's the last thing you want to let us know?
Last thing is let you know is wear your mask, social distance. We're going to get through this. I know this because Mirta can do it, so therefore you guys can do it too. We're all going to get through this together, and I hope that you continue to travel with me and Mirta as we get through this weird world of the unknown.
Excellent. Way to go on that positivity to leave us with. We'll see you all. Bye, everybody.
Bye.